All right, so this deep dive is going to take us into some pretty wild territory.
Yeah.
You guys said to send us a ton of articles and notes about Project Bluebeam, and honestly, it sounds like a sci-fi thriller.
It really does kind of have that vibe.
Yeah.
What's interesting is this theory has been around for decades.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it first came out in 1994.
Wow, okay.
And it's thanks to a French-Canadian journalist by the name of Serge Monist.
Okay, so we've got his original talk, the transcript of it. I mean,
Uh,
we also have excerpts from websites that discuss it, so
Exactly.
you can really, get into it.
That's right, and kind of decode this whole conspiracy theory for everyone.
All right, so what is Project Bluebeam, according to Monist?
So at its
What
core,
did he think was happening?
Monist believed that Project Bluebeam was this big plan by the New World Order
Okay.
to use advanced technology to essentially fabricate a global religious experience.
Wait, a fabricated religious experience?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
That's where it starts getting pretty interesting.
That's where we need to dive in.
Yeah, the idea was to create a one-world religion and basically rule.
Okay.
And he had these steps laid out.
What were the steps?
So first, you guessed it, earthquakes.
Earthquakes to start a new religion.
Well, he believed that these would be strategically placed earthquakes.
Oh.
Like, not just any average earthquake, but they would be faked
Oh.
and targeted to places that had, archaeological meaning.
Mhm.
The idea was to reveal new discoveries that would discredit existing religions.
So shake things up literally and figuratively.
Exactly.
Right.
So then step
Okay.
2 is where things get really Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
A gigantic space show beamed into the sky using holographic images and sound technology.
Hold on. So we're not talking about, lasers and spaceships here.
No, not spaceships.
Okay.
More like holographic projections of different religious figures that would all merge into this one Antichrist.
Wow.
This spectacle designed to awe and inspire, but with some pretty dark undertones.
That's pretty intense.
Yeah.
I mean, a global holographic show, that's a wild visual.
It is.
How would they even convince people that this holographic deity was the real deal?
That's where step 3 comes in.
Okay.
It's what he called telepathic two-way communication.
No.
He believed that they would use things like ELF, VLF, and LF waves, which are different types of radio waves,
Right.
to directly communicate with people and make them think God was talking to them.
Mind control through radio waves.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where it gets into science fiction territory.
It really does.
Right.
Is there any actual science to back that up?
I mean, could they really pull this off?
Right.
There is zero scientific evidence to support ELF waves being used for mind control.
Okay.
Now, ELF waves are a real thing,
Right.
and the military has researched them,
Yeah.
but they use them for communication, like with submarines.
Right.
So it seems like Monist kind of took this real science and twisted it a little bit to fit his theory.
So he basically took some real-world technology and made it seem more believable. Okay, so we've got the earthquakes, the space show, they're beaming messages into our brains. What's next?
Well, step 4 takes us into even more outlandish territory.
Lay it on me. Ghosts, demons, mass hallucinations.
Think bigger.
Okay.
A staged alien invasion
A fake alien invasion.
to trigger global nuclear disarmament, followed by a fake rapture for Christians.
A fake rapture. I mean,
It's a lot.
that's a lot. Logistically, that's mind-blowing.
Yeah, the whole point of this being to create mass panic and chaos.
Wow. So it sounds like he really envisioned a world on the brink of collapse, and this new world order is orchestrating it all.
That's right. He believed this would allow the New World Order to step in as these saviors and establish global control with this new religion.
Yeah.
They fabricate it.
It's a very dystopian movie vibe.
Yeah,
So Monist didn't just pull these ideas out of thin air.
right.
He had some pretty specific examples of technology
You did.
to try to make his case.
That's right. Like he mentioned the Soviets creating computers that could analyze human biology, psychology language, which to him meant the technology to manipulate minds already existed.
And he also mentioned the U.S. military research into ELF waves,
Yes.
which we know is not mind control, but
right.
still...
But suggestive.
Yeah, he suggested that ELF waves could even be used to induce heart attacks.
Right.
That's pretty dark.
It's scary.
So maybe the science behind his claims isn't totally solid,
Yeah,
but he was definitely concerned about how technology could be misused,
absolutely.
for control and manipulation.
Right.
And he actually said in his talk, no one owns his own personality,
Right.
which is a chilling quote when you think about it.
It is.
Yeah. So it does raise some ethical questions about technology and how it can influence our thoughts and behaviors, even if we're not talking about full-blown mind control.
Absolutely food for thought.
Definitely food for thought.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to remember that these are Monist's claims.
Right.
And we should be looking at this with a critical eye.
Exactly. Just because he said it doesn't make it true.
Yeah. In the next part, we're going to really dig into how plausible these claims are.
Right.
Look at the technology involved.
Yeah.
And really explore why this theory is still around, even though there's not really any evidence to back it up.
Why it still has a hold on people.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. Welcome back.
It's amazing that this theory is still around.
I know.
You know, even though there's really no solid evidence.
It's wild, right?
Yeah.
What's even crazier is that Monist wasn't just some random guy spouting off ideas.
Yeah, he was a journalist.
Yeah.
He should have been dealing with facts and information.
Yeah, you would think.
So it makes you wonder what led him down this path.
I know.
In his talk, he even mentioned specific authors and books.
He did.
That he claims were really influential in the whole New World Order thinking.
He was trying to connect the dots.
Yeah, trying to build a case.
Right.
He cites people like Helena Blavatsky.
Yeah.
Alice Bailey.
Yeah.
David Spangler.
They're all big in the New Age movement.
Yeah, and they all write about spirituality, global consciousness.
Right.
And kind of alternative interpretations of traditional religions.
That's right.
So not your typical conspiracy theory stuff.
No, not at all. But Monist viewed them through a very specific lens.
Yeah. He thought there were these hidden agendas and bad motives working beneath the surface.
Yeah, he was convinced that the New Age movement, with its emphasis on global unity and this universal spirituality, was just a cover for the New World Order that he was so worried about.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting because he wasn't the only one who had concerns about the New Age movement.
Yeah, back in the early 90s, there was a lot of talk about it.
Oh, yeah. Some people were really scared of it.
Right. I thought it was going to change society.
Yeah, some saw it as a threat to traditional values, while others thought it was just this harmless spiritual exploration.
Right, like anything else.
Exactly.
It was a time of a lot of change. So, I think for some people, the idea of this big, scary plot was less frightening than all the uncertainty.
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
That was happening in the world.
Yeah, they needed an explanation.
They needed an answer.
A narrative.
Yeah, and Project Bluebeam kind of provided that.
It gave them a simple but very dramatic explanation for all these changes that were happening around them.
Okay, so let's talk about the holographic projections again.
Okay.
You know, the ones beamed into the sky.
Yeah.
That's where this theory really goes into science fiction.
It does.
But I mean, technology has come a long way since 1994.
That's true.
We have augmented reality now and 3D projection mapping.
Yeah, we do.
That stuff's pretty crazy.
It is.
So while we're not quite at the point of projecting these giant holographic figures into the sky, I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
What if he was just way ahead of his time?
Right.
But we can't forget about the manipulation part.
Oh, that's the key.
The control aspect.
Right. That's really what his theory is all about.
Right.
Is that technology would be used to manipulate and control us.
And, I mean, that's something that we think about a lot today.
All the time.
Especially with how much we rely on technology.
Yeah, it makes you wonder.
Where's the line?
Where do we draw the line?
Between helpful technology and invasive control.
Right. Could they be blurred?
Yeah, and it's not just about the technology itself.
Right.
It's the intent behind it.
Exactly. Monist thought technology was just a tool.
Okay.
And the end goal was complete control.
Of humanity.
Of us.
Yeah.
No one owns his own personality.
Right. And that quote,
no, it's chilling.
It really is. And it captures that fear of losing our individuality to forces that are beyond our control.
Absolutely. And that fear isn't totally crazy, even if we don't buy into the whole Project Bluebeam thing.
Right.
Think about it. Our data is constantly being collected, analyzed.
Yeah, algorithms are shaping our online experiences.
Right. They could even be influencing our thoughts and choices.
Yeah, so you can see why someone like Monist back then might have been like, whoa.
Yeah.
This is not good.
This is a slippery slope.
Right. He saw this trend and extrapolated it.
Totally.
To this dystopian future.
Yeah.
Where technology is controlling us.
Right.
So while we might think Project Bluebeam is a little out there.
Yeah.
It's still something to think about.
Absolutely. It's a thought-provoking exercise.
It makes us confront our anxieties about technology.
Yeah.
And control.
And what the future holds.
Yeah.
For us.
Will we have any freedom?
Really?
In this increasingly interconnected world?
Right. And it makes you think about the power of belief.
Yeah.
How a compelling narrative, even if it's totally false, can really take hold.
Yeah, if it taps into our fears.
Exactly.
Our anxieties.
Yeah, we want explanations, especially when things are uncertain.
Yeah.
Sometimes a simple explanation, even if it's wrong,
Right.
is better than facing the complexity of reality.
Okay, so even if we don't believe in Project Bluebeam, it still makes us think about how we decide what's true.
Yes,
And how we navigate this world
it does.
that's full of all this misinformation.
It's a good reminder to think critically,
Yes.
to question our assumptions,
Yeah.
and be wary of narratives that oversimplify complex issues.
Okay, so Monist also mentioned all that research into ELF waves
Yeah,
and mind control by the Soviets and the U.S. military.
he did.
How much truth is there to that?
Well, we have to be careful not to confuse what's scientifically possible with what's actually proven.
Okay.
I mean, ELF waves exist.
Okay.
They've been studied for communication.
Yeah, like with the submarines.
Exactly.
It's cool technology,
It is.
but it's not mind control.
Not at all.
So the science of ELF waves is real,
Right.
but mind control.
Pure science fiction.
Yeah, so it's really important to be clear about that
It is.
because those claims have been used to scare people.
Right. To make them think that our minds are vulnerable to these invisible forces.
So just because something sounds scientific or technical
Right.
doesn't mean it's true.
You got to be careful.
Yeah, we need to be critical of everything,
Everything you read,
especially these big crazy claims.
especially those.
And then there's the whole supernatural events part of Project Bluebeam,
Oh, yeah.
the fake alien invasion, the rapture, the satanic ghosts.
A whole shebang.
It sounds pretty wild.
It does, right? And Monist was completely serious about it all.
Yeah, he was sure they were part of this plan to trick the world.
Yeah. It's hard to know what to make of that.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it just shows how much we fear the unknown.
Maybe.
Aliens, the end of the world, ghosts and demons.
I mean, those are themes that we've always been fascinated with.
Yeah, we've always wondered if there are forces out there that
Right.
we can't understand
Yeah, things working behind the scenes.
and controlling everything.
Yeah.
And for some people, I think those fears are even stronger
Oh, for sure.
because of their religious beliefs.
Right. Or cultural narratives.
And then you add in distrust of authority
Yeah.
and belief in secret agendas.
It's the perfect recipe.
It's a breeding ground for conspiracy theories.
Yeah. So even if the details of Project Bluebeam are totally made up,
Yeah.
it's important to understand why people find these ideas so appealing.
Right. I think it comes down to anxieties about the state of the world.
Yeah, uncertainty, loss of control, the future. It's scary stuff.
Yeah. So instead of just dismissing those anxieties,
Yeah.
I think we need to talk about them.
We do.
Have open and honest conversations.
Yeah.
And try to find reliable information
Good information.
to help us understand what's really going on.
That's the key.
So what about the New World Order
Right.
that Monist thought was behind Project Bluebeam?
Yeah.
What did he think this New World Order would actually look like?
He imagined this totalitarian, one-world government
Okay.
with a single unified religion.
A one-world religion.
Yeah, basically a tool for control.
So no freedom.
Right.
Everyone has to conform,
Yeah. And they would use technology
of course.
to watch everyone.
Like Big Brother.
Big brother.
And control everyone.
It's like a dystopian nightmare.
Yeah, so how would they actually maintain control?
He thought they'd use economic manipulation surveillance propaganda.
Okay.
He talked about things like microchipping people, restricting access to resources, using media to spread fake news.
I mean, it's scary to think about,
It is.
but it also reflects real concerns about power
It does.
and privacy and how technology can be used for bad things.
Yeah, and those concerns are even bigger now with
Yeah.
everything that's going on.
With all the inequality and surveillance and misinformation.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Okay, so Monist's New World Order might be a conspiracy theory,
Right.
but the fears behind it,
Are real.
they're real.
They are.
So I think even though Project Bluebeam might be totally made up,
Yeah.
it can still make us think
It can.
about the role of technology
In our lives.
and how we can protect our freedoms.
In this crazy world.
Yeah.
It's a lot to think about.
So before we completely lose ourselves in this world of holographic antichrists and fake alien invasions, let's go back to those technologies Monist was talking about.
Yeah, the ones he said were like proof of his theory.
Yeah, even though we kind of debunked the mind control thing, it's still pretty interesting to think about those technologies.
It is, especially with how much things have changed since 1994.
Oh, yeah. I mean, some of the things he talked about, like computers analyzing human psychology and language.
Right.
That seems like straight up science fiction back then.
It did, but now we've got AI doing
Yeah.
some crazy things.
I know it's kind of scary sometimes.
It is. Like,
I
think
think
about the algorithms that control what we see on social media.
Right, or facial recognition.
Yeah, for surveillance.
It's wild how fast things are moving.
I know. And even though computers aren't controlling our minds yet,
Right.
all this data collection and analysis
Yeah.
definitely raises some questions.
They have questions.
About privacy and what they're doing with all this information.
It's easy to see why Monis was so freaked out by all this.
Whoa, totally.
Back then.
Especially with the whole Cold War thing going on.
Right. Everyone was worried about propaganda and mind control.
Exactly. So his whole worldview was shaped by that fear.
Yeah. He saw all this new technology and just thought the worst.
Right. Like it was all going to be used against us.
To manipulate us and control us.
And I guess Project Bluebeam was like his ultimate nightmare.
Yeah, like all his fears coming true on a global scale.
It's like he was trying to make sense of this world.
That was changing so fast.
Where everything was becoming so blurry.
Yeah, real and fake.
Truth and lies.
And I think those anxieties are still around today.
Oh, absolutely. We might not talk about mind control as much anymore.
But we're definitely worried about manipulation and surveillance.
And how technology is shaping our lives.
So even though Monis might have been a little paranoid,
Yeah.
he was tapping into some real concerns.
He was.
That are still relevant today.
Definitely so. Instead of just ignoring those concerns,
Right.
I think we need to have these conversations.
Yeah. Open and honest conversations.
About technology and ethics and how to protect our freedoms.
Yeah. In this digital world.
Because technology's not going away.
Nope. It's only going to get more advanced.
So we need to be aware of the risks.
And make sure we're using it for good.
Not letting it use us.
Okay. So let's talk about that new world order.
Right. The one Amonis thought was behind all of this.
Yeah. What did he think it would actually look like?
He basically described a one-world government with a single religion.
So everyone has to believe the same thing?
Yeah, and they would use that religion to control people.
And technology, too, I bet.
Of course they would use technology to watch everyone and keep them in line.
So it's like a classic dystopian nightmare.
Totally. No freedom, everyone has to conform.
It's pretty bleak.
It is.
But I guess it does reflect those anxieties we have about power and control.
Oh, yeah. Especially with things like economic inequality and surveillance becoming more and more of a problem.
So even though Monis' New World Order might be a conspiracy theory, it still makes us think about the direction our world is heading in.
It does. It makes you wonder if we're headed towards a dystopia or if we can create a better future.
Yeah, where technology is used to help people not control them.
Exactly. And that's why I think even though Project Bluebeam might sound crazy,
Yeah.
it's a valuable thought experiment.
It makes us question everything.
Yeah, and think critically about the information we're bombarded with every day.
And hopefully it inspires us to be more engaged citizens.
Yeah, to demand transparency and accountability from those in power.
So that's it for our deep dive into Project Bluebeam.
It's been a wild ride.
It has. We hope you enjoyed it and learned something along the way.
And remember,
Yeah.
always question everything.
And keep those critical thinking caps on.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Into another fascinating topic.